It says Thursday Night War Room again.
What is going on, guys? All right, we have a great show tonight. Hope you enjoyed the countdown timer. I fucked up on the tweet, though. Unfortunately, it says Thursday Night War Room. Forgot to change that, but it's all good, man. We're all here. Let's go get the show started.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for two, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 171 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are here every Wednesday and Friday night live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. Syndicated in all major podcast networks, and of course, streaming the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my two co-hosts tonight, Gerson and Tim. What's up, guys?
What up? How you doing, man?
Good. Tim, how are you?
Doing good, Geoff. Doing good. We got a ton to talk about tonight. I guess I should start off by saying that I got back on that winning train last week. I got a win in the arena.
Save it for the
one in the arena.
Save it for the rewind.
All right.
Gotta have something to talk about for the rewind. All right, let's go ahead and get into the rewind. See if I find my drop. There we go.
A weekly rewind. Rewind.
All right, I got this new countdown timer, and it's got me all kinds of messed up. I'm sending out the wrong tweets, and I'm trying to share it on Facebook, and I can't even get that done right. So I apologize. All right, Tim, go ahead and talk about your arena that you had there, your arena matchup.
Yeah, so last week I faced off against John in the arena, and I did get the win, so I was happy about that. I'm now 1-1. This week I'm playing Jordan Ketters, so I'm going to be posting our lineups here in the roundtable group in a few minutes. Vote on who you think will win, and you could be in the arena next week.
Good stuff, good stuff. And we had some awesome calls last week. I finally got a sick call right. Jalen Guyton, I said he needed one play. Just one play is all he got. He got one 72-yard touchdown pass, paid off his value. So I was excited to see that. Finally got that one. And I actually predicted Austin Hooper's breakout too. I mean, it wasn't a huge breakout, but it was better than he's been all season. So I'll take those 2 wins. Gerson, how'd you do?
Gerson had a sweat going last week in the power sweep, right?
Yeah. Sadly, guys, if I was I could have been $100,000 richer, but the last 10 minutes before roster is locked, as you guys know, I did a show for going for 2, so I have 30 minutes to basically make all my rosters. Yes, I do make all my rosters in 30 minutes, all 315 of them somehow. Don't ask me how. But I always leave like my single entrance team, and I swapped Joe Mixon, the Los Angeles Rams defense, to Jonathan Taylor and the Buccaneers defense. And that swap alone, I went from profiting $1,500 on that roster to, from $100,000 to $1,500. And
ouch.
I didn't even realize it until my brother told me like later in the day, didn't you send me this roster? How did it do? And I'm like, oh my God, that is a power sweep roster. And I was just like, I was bummed out, It is what it is, but I can't complain, right? Like, a profit is a profit. A lot of people here lose money a lot.
Yep.
But I'm not one to brag or anything. If I profit, I just move on to another week. A lot of people lose money. I hate to brag about it or anything. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was a good week though. We freaking nailed so many calls. I was so happy. And the thing is, we said about Joe Mixon, we said this could be the week that he gets 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, and nobody's gonna be on him. And it happened, I feel like this is like the 3rd week we done it, because we did it with Austin Eckler. And then the week before that, who was it? Oh, man, I can't remember. Oh, I think Geoff said something about Aaron Jones, and he went off. So, guys, just a lot of people say take the advice against the grain of salt, but maybe just take the plays and run with it.
Yeah, just ignore week 2. Week 2 did not happen on the podcast, guys. We didn't have a show that week. That was our one bad week.
Yeah.
All right, we got a ton to talk about, fellas, so let's jump in.
Yeah, let's get to it. But real quick, though, the Weekly Rewind's brought to you by BUSR Sportsbook, betting everything from horse racing to the 2020 election. Visit BUSR.com/going for 2 to sign up, get a welcome bonus, and bet on this weekend's games. Let's get right to it.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
I do have one last thing to plug before we get to the quarterbacks. Tim is going to be live from Las Vegas on the podcast next week, so that should be exciting. I don't know, where are you actually going to have the show at? Like, where are you going to be at?
I'm going to try and do it from the MGM Grand.
Nice.
That's the plan right now, live from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas next Friday night.
Good stuff. So make sure y'all tune in for that.
We'll see if they kick me out of the sports book.
All right, let's get to these quarterbacks. Gerson, I'll go to you first, man. What you got for your elite quarterbacks?
I felt like I've been talking about this guy since week 1, right? Dak Prescott. Dak leads the league in passing yards. And I once said that he's going to go for 6,238 yards. Well, he's going to get somewhere close to that. I'm not kidding, but he's getting 422 yards a game. He's the first NFL player, and this is crazy when I read this. I'm like, I had to check it twice. I'm like, is this a mistake? But he's the first player in NFL history to throw 450-plus yards in 3 consecutive games. So that's pretty impressive considering all the greatest quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, so-called this guy named Joe Montana. I don't know anything about him, or Jimmy Garoppolo too. But Cowboys games, it's crazy. They're running about 149 plays per game every game they play. That's the away team and the home team, That's the best in the NFL. It's a high-paced game. I'm not too worried about the matchup. A lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, well, it looks like it's not. If you look at their opponents they face Big Ben, who finished quarterback 9. They face Mitch Trubisky, Nick Mullen, Jared Goff. None of those quarterbacks really, stand out to me. To the level of Dak Prescott or we're talking like Lamar Jackson, Deshaun,
yep.
The top elite quarterbacks. But Vegas has an implied total of 31.8. That's the last time I checked, but I'm going to stack him. And we've seen him, he has all the weapons in the world now. And the best weapon he has is called that Dallas Cowboys defense that doesn't stop.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, holy crap.
All right, Tim, we got to get Gerson to be quiet here. We're going to spend half an hour on quarterbacks. All right, Tim, give me one of your...
So I love Dak Prescott. He's definitely my top guy. But the guy that I have right there with Dak this week is Patrick Mahomes. KC has a 33.5 implied point total. They're at home. I think he's got some excellent stacking options as always, including a couple under-the-radar guys we'll talk about later. I don't know how you don't play Patrick Mahomes, especially in tournaments this week. I do like Lamar Jackson as well, but if I'm paying up for two guys, it's Dak and Mahomes.
Yeah, I like it. And so I'm going to be using a new stat to guys tonight. I don't know if y'all tuned into the Wednesday show or not. We had Philip Caldwell on. He's from Pro Football Network, and he has his consistency rankings that he does for defense. He calls it the DPACS, which is way too damn much to try to say. So I'm calling it DPOC. Stands for Defensive Points Against Consistency, which basically means how consistent a team is at giving up points to a position. So the higher the ranking, the better. And the Giants, just to go on the Dak Prescott thing, the Giants are actually the best DPOC matchup on the slate for quarterbacks. They're the most consistent, giving up a ton of points there. So I agree. I think Dak is a great play. The only other one that I had there was Kyler Murray, which there was a scare that they weren't going to play this game, but turns out that the test was negative. It was like a false positive or whatever, so the game will be played. Kyler Murray's always in play, 7.2, playing against the Jets, obviously. So I do think that Kyler Murray's in play a little bit sneakier, because I think everyone's going to be on Dak and the Mahomes and maybe even the Lamar Jacksons of the world, but Kyler Murray's going to be a little bit underowned, I think. All right, let's move into the mid-tier. Tim, we'll go back to you. Give me a couple of your mid-tier guys.
Well, guy I want to talk about, Gerson has. So I'm going to talk about my man Matt Ryan. This week I'm going to be very exposed to Matt Ryan at 6,100. He's at home and he gets the Carolina Panthers. He's consistently been one of the top in the last couple of years in pass attempts, and this year is no different. I think he's third in pass attempts. This team does not run the ball. Everybody knows you beat Carolina by running the ball, but the Falcons have no interest in it. He's going to throw the ball 40-plus times. He's got, a bunch of good stacking options we're going to talk about. And like I said, he's only 6,100. So I think he's going to get that 300-yard bonus that you get on DraftKings. I think he's a real, almost a lock for 20-plus DraftKings points. And at 6.1, that gets you more than that 3 times value you need. So I think he makes a cash play or a GPP play.
Yep, I love it. I got Ryan on my list as well. Gerson, talk about your boy there with the new coach.
Yeah. And Bill O'Brien got fired, in case nobody seen it or missed. He should have been fired like 3 years ago, but it happened. Deshaun Watson, he's my quarterback that I like in the mid-tier. Jaguars defense ranked last overall in DVOA, and they off in DVOA overall, and then dead last in pass DVOA, and have allowed the 10th most points at 117 total points. This is I think this game is like basically what the Texans are like. We're going to show you to the coach that Bill O'Brien is the problem. They're going to make it work. I mean, they have to, because they're 0-4. They don't want to go 0-5. This is a make it. What do you call it, Geoff? A make it right game or something like that?
A get right game.
Get right game. The Jaguars have allowed the second most points per throw also, so it really certainly helps him, and he completes 77% of his passes. So if he gets going and he has all those weapons forward. Jordan Atkin. I don't know about calling Brandon Cook a weapon anymore, because that piece of shit brought the big 0 last week. That pissed me off so bad. They run the fifth fastest pace too, so Bill O'Brien fired. Let's just hope they go out there and sling it.
Yeah, definitely. The only one I want to add to the list, and he's another guy that's me kind of lower owned, is Mr. Big Ben at 6.6 versus Philly. If you look at the points allowed to quarterbacks for Philly, they actually don't give up a ton of points to quarterbacks, but it's also fool's gold, because they played Haskins, they played quote unquote bad Goff or road Goff, they played Burrow the rookie. Of course, they played for a tie in that game. They played Nick Mullins, so not exactly the gauntlet of good quarterbacks there. So I think Big Ben is going to come out and firing. They do rank 16th DVOA versus the pass, so they're kind of middle of the road with efficiency. So I think Big Ben at 6.6 obviously some good stack options there as well.
Hey, before we move on to the values, I do want to mention real quick Gardner Minshew at 6,200. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be popular, and for obvious reasons. I think that's a great game to stack. But I think you can get Minshew on the other side for a little bit of a discount and a much lower ownership. So if you're looking for a GPP play, if you want some exposure to that game at lower ownership, I think you can go Minshew as well.
I like it. Gerson, kick off our value quarterbacks. Who you got?
I can't even believe I'm gonna be talking about this guy because my whole DFS, my whole fantasy football life, I've always just linked this guy he's boring and average, But Teddy B's making it work, man. With what's his name? Rule, the head coach.
Yeah,
Rule.
It's all about Joe Brady, man. Teddy Two Gloves.
Ja Rule and Joe Brady, man. They're making it work, but. Yeah, I mean, Falcons defense, we know every week we look at the rule, right, who's that Falcon playing? Boom. Damn, it's going to be the same thing every week. Cowboys and Falcons, they rank 24th overall in DVOA, 31st against the pass in DVOA, and have allowed the second most points at 138 points. So Falcons defense is just awful, and they're allowing 32.73 points per game to quarterback. Yeah, I think that he's really cheap too. So it's going to be he's one of the highest owned quarterback. I believe he comes in at 10%. He's the third highest owned quarterback next to Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. And his stacking options, we'll talk about them. Yeah, you can make it work.
Yeah, you definitely can. And just to go off that one there, Atlanta actually is the sixth best DPOC matchup. They give up a good consistent amount of points there. So I love Bridgewater as well. All right, Tim, who you got for your values?
Yeah, I think there are two guys that you're going to see a lot in cash games at quarterback. One's going to be Mr. Teddy Two Gloves, and the other one, Danny Dimes, baby. 5.4K facing the Dallas Cowboys defense. Obviously, we saw last week Browns nearly dropped 50 on them at home. So everybody's going to like Danny Dimes this week at 5,400. I think obviously he's a great play, not just because he's going against the Cowboys, but I think it's a situation where in this matchup, I think he's a little bit too cheap as well. So I think that, in addition to getting a good matchup, you get a great price. But I want to ask you, Geoff, because I see you have CJ Beathard there, so I don't know if you had time to update this, but it's Jimmy G. He's back.
He is back.
We played Jimmy G this week.
All right, because last time I looked at it, he was still questionable. So is he officially in now?
As far as I know, he's officially in, yes.
All right, yeah, check on that because I know last I looked.
Jimmy Garoppolo was cleared and will start Week 5 against the Dolphins. So.
All right, well that crushes my other value there. I had CJ Beathard as my other value, so gonna have to just skip on that one and just Jimmy G. So you got Jimmy G on your value. Talk about him a little bit, Tim.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. I mean, he's 5,500. Like he's basically the same price as Beathard. He gets Miami Dolphins, which are obviously not a great defense. We saw they put up a little bit more of a resistance to Russell Wilson last week than I think most people thought they would. But I mean, it's a situation where make sure I say this right here. Yeah. So if you're looking at Daniel Jones on the road against Dallas for 5,400, why would you not like Jimmy Garoppolo at home against the Dolphins for all the same reasons?
Yeah.
Right. And I think because the news broke so late in the week, I don't think many people will be on him. Right. Now, every once in a while, Daniel Jones will take off with his legs, which I don't think you really get with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I also think that there's a better chance that he hits value, and I think there's a decent chance that Daniel Jones might not hit value. So, as of right now, it's crazy to say, but I'm considering Garoppolo in cash.
Wow. So the notes I had on Beathard just kind of apply for Jimmy G as well. Dolphins 28th DVOA versus the pass, and they give up the third most points to quarterbacks. So Jimmy G's in, so Jimmy G's going to be good to go. I think he's a good play at his price point. Gerson, you got one more guy on your list there. Your Raider there, Derek Carr. Talk about him a little bit.
I did some research today, and I was on him, but now I'm kind of off him. Just due to the fact that Kansas City defense is actually pretty good. Very underrated. But I also don't like the fact that Bryan Edwards not going to play. I think he would have really helped them.
Yeah.
And Hunter Renfrow didn't look all that great last week. Darren Waller, well, he just look phenomenal right now. So I'm on him, but I just don't think he's going to be my GPP player pool, and I wouldn't play him in cash games. So, I mean, you can have him under consideration, but he's cheap.
He is
and
cheap.
It makes sense when you're playing Kansas City what's the name, Patrick Mahomes. It always a good correlation, go back and forth. All right, I'm gonna give you all a fair warning right now. I am a big LeBron fan, and if he fucking wins this championship right now during the show, I'm gonna go crazy. So I'm just letting you guys all know I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna drink beer, and yeah, just I'm sorry, okay.
You're good, man. You're good. I knew it would be hard for you to do this show. So we did have one question in the chat, and I want to pass this to you, Tim. Kyle Allen. What are your thoughts on Mr. Kyle Allen?
Yeah, I can't do it. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, at 4,100, obviously, he's very tempting, right? I mean, he's lower than a low-end wide receiver. He's the same price as what Brandon Cooks this week, right? So, I mean, I could see it, but my thing is like the projections for Daniel Jones and Teddy Two Gloves are so much better at like $1,500 more that I just don't think you can do it. I mean, what are you expecting out of Kyle Allen? You're like, okay, he can get me 12 points. He can hit value. Like, maybe, okay, then you play him in cash, but, like, I still don't think that there's just no upside there, right? You're just begging that he hits value, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's my only issue with Kyle Allen. I don't see him having a 20-plus point game, which I could see happen from Daniel Jones, from Jimmy Garoppolo, from Teddy Bridgewater. So if it's me, I'm going to try and find the money to pay up and then save money elsewhere.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say on Kyle Allen, and it may be a little bit of an upgrade over Haskins, is I saw a stat, or I heard a stat on the radio. I live here in Washington, D.C. Someone came on and said that Kyle Allen last year was like second or third in air yards. So he's throwing the ball down the field, so maybe he gets the ball down to McLaurin a little bit, increases his value some, but I'm not touching them. The weapons are still terrible. They still have McLaurin and nobody else. So even Steven Sims, their number 2 that I really like coming to the season, is not going to play this week. So I'm passing on Kyle Allen for sure. All right, let's get to the tight ends.
Definitely not playing Joe Flacco. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no Flacco. Flacco is not on my rosters at all.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, Gerson, I'm going to go to you because you mentioned one of these guys in the last segment already, Mr. Darren Waller. Talk about him a little bit.
First off. And he gets his beat back because he was on the baller last week, baby. Yeah. Man, I was so happy I'm like, we need that beat back, so he better do great. Darren Waller, I mean, if you were to tell me that Darren Waller is going to lead the league in target, yeah, I could have believed it, with tight end, But when you tell me 40 targets through first 4 weeks, that's pretty crazy. I would think someone like Kittle or Kelsey would get that, but Darren Waller, no, not really. But last year he did play them twice. Obviously, this is his second year as a starter. He went 7 for 100 and 0 touchdown, and then on 9 targets, and then 6 for 63, 0 touchdown on 7 targets. I mean, that's kind of like what we're looking for, right? The ceiling and the floor,
Yep.
Darren Waller leads all tight end and target share at 29%, over George Kittle 27%, over Travis Kelsey 23%. And, he's going to be in that stack. And when I say that stack, he's going to be in that Patrick Mahomes stack. Well, did we not mention Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback?
No, we did. Matter of fact, you did.
Okay, double checking. Okay, double checking here. I was like, wait a minute, I swear we did. But no, he's going to be in that Patrick Mahomes stack. You bring it back with him. Darren Waller is probably the safest player you're going to bring it back with, along with, well, I don't ever play my quarterback with my running backs, but Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, and then Darren Waller. I mean, I love Darren Waller this week, and hopefully he becomes a baller.
Yep, good stuff.
Yeah, I think traditionally we've kind of treated the tight end kind of like catcher in baseball, where you just punt it to the guy you can best stomach at a low price.
Yep.
But I think this year more than ever, there's really a lot of, as Gerson just mentioned, it's very advantageous to pay up when you're talking about guys that are getting wide receiver 1 type target share.
Yep.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but Darren Waller is 4th in the entire NFL in target share. That's just insanity for a tight end. And I think you can pay up a tight end this week. I think it's viable. I think there's enough value to get there. I mean, I love Kelsey on the other side of that matchup. I love Mark Andrews against the Bengals this week. I think if you can find places, otherwise, if you can find money elsewhere in your matchup to pay up for tight end, I think it's incredibly viable to do this week.
Yep, I'm with you as well.
I played Waller in cash last week. Let me just say that. I know a lot of people went for Troutman or went for Hawkinson and stuff, and it obviously worked out for me. I was very happy about that, so I'm glad we got the beat back this week.
Thanks for rubbing it in my face, Tim.
All right, the only other guy I had on my list is George Kittle at 6.6, especially if Jimmy G is going to be back. That does increase his value a little bit. Miami's defense, as I mentioned, is not very good against the pass. Jimmy G is going to target Kittle. Kittle's involved in that pass. He's like one of those tight ends that are going to get a ton of targets. What do you have, like 11, 12 targets last week, 13 targets, something? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, 14, I believe.
14.
I mean, he caught 14 balls, didn't he?
Yeah, you might be right. I know it was a ridiculous number. It was in the teens.
Yeah, he went 15 for, holy shit, 15 targets, 15 receptions, 183 yards. That's perfect, man.
That's insane. That's insane numbers right there. So, yeah, I do think, obviously, he's viable at 6.6. All right, let's move down into the mid-tier guys. And, Tim, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I know Gerson wants to talk about the other guy. I tried the guy on the other side of this game. So I'm going to talk about Dalton Schultz. Last week, he was in a lot of the GPP winning lineups. And it's just because, we talked about earlier, Dak is just throwing the ball so much, and he's spreading it around. He pretty much got the same role that, Blake Jarwin had, as I said, before, which is the same role basically that Jason Witten had in the past. They're using them on 80+% of snaps. He's getting 7 or 8 targets a game, and he's still under 5,000. And the best thing is I think of any of the Dallas pass catchers, he's probably going to come in the lowest owned. Maybe Michael Gallup, which we'll talk about later, but I think he's almost more viable in this spot. So I think everybody's going to play the tight end on the other side of this game, and for good reason. But I think you can get this guy at a similar price at much lower ownership.
Yeah, good call. And that guy that we're talking about, of course, Gerson, you can talk about him. We have him. All of us have him on our list, but go ahead and talk about him, Gerson.
Yeah, Tim is right about that, though. Dalton Schultz is coming in at 5%. All the other guys are coming in above 10% or more. So the other guy he was talking about was Evan Engram. I've always been a big Evan Engram hater. I mean, if you go look at my fantasy pros ranking before the season started, I had him outside 14, I think, and that's pretty crazy, right? Like a lot of people think he's an athletic tight end, great, but hey, man, so far I'm right. But I hope I'm wrong on this one though, because I want him to go off. I want this game to be high paced. I want him to get his targets. He's getting the target. He's ranked 3rd in tight end target at 30, but 8th in reception at 17. 20th in yard at 131, and last in touchdown, of course, because he hasn't scored 1 touchdown. So yeah, I mean, it's not it's not sexy stats, right? But he has the 74.3% completion rate at 7.34 yards per target is what they're allowing the Cowboys, but 17% ownership. That is insane for a tight end right now. I mean, especially for someone like Evan Engram, I can see Waller or Kittle and them getting 17%, but a guy like Evan Engram that's very volatile.
Yep.
Yeah, that screams GPP for me.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to trust him in cash game, but this is a good. I think it's just all of this Evan Engram is screaming game environment to me more than anything. Not the player, but game environment. We've seen what Dallas does. They allow a crap load of points, and Danny Dime. I think this is. From here on, go trade for him in your dynasty and your fantasy football. He's going to go off. Danny Dime's going to be good for the next 6 weeks or so.
Yep, good call.
But yeah, beware.
And of course, the chat group.
I think Ingram's the cash play. While we're talking about cash plays, I think Ingram's the cash play. He's coming in as the number 1 most owned tight end, which I think he makes him good flash on his own. But yeah, I think if you're playing cash, you either want to get up to Waller or pay for Ingram.
I agree.
I agree on that. It's just
I think there's one other guy we're going to talk about here in a second that I think is viable, but
yeah, Tim,
where I'm going to be going.
The chat's keeping me in point here. I didn't give you a chance to talk about your elite tight end. So who did you have for your top tier tight end that you want to talk about?
Me? No, I did. Yeah, I mean, I basically said that paying up for tight end was a viable strategy. I mean, Kelsey would be my top guy, but Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, they're all right there in terms of points per dollar. So I think it's more of anything, it's just a viable strategy to pay up for one of those guys, whichever one fits the best in your lineup. Like Gerson mentioned, if you're doing a KC stack, obviously you want to, probably bring it back with Waller, or you can have Kelsey as part of your home stack. I think that they're all very viable.
Yeah, could you imagine that stack? A quarterback and 2 tight ends from both. That's a crazy stack right there.
If I was going to run a 2 tight end lineup this week, that would be the way to do it.
that's crazy to think about. But yeah, it's definitely viable. Just to piggyback on the Ingram call there, the notes I had down here is Dallas' 3rd worst against points allowed against tight ends, and they have the best Deepak matchup. They're most consistent giving up points. Obviously, Dallas just bleeds points to pretty much everybody, so I love that call. Tyler Higbee at 5.6 going against Washington. Washington gives up the fourth most points to tight ends, and they have one of the top defenses against the wide receiver. So you think that they're going to shut those wide receivers down? Not shut them down, but make them work a little bit harder for it and funnel those targets to the tight end a little bit. So Higbee at 5.6 I think is also in play.
His usage doesn't worry you?
What was that?
His usage doesn't worry you?
No, it doesn't. I think it's still gonna. I think Goff still looks his way. I don't know. The last couple of weeks have been kind of tough for him because I actually own him in my dynasty league, and of course the 1 week he goes off is week 2. He has like 3 touchdowns or whatever he had, and he hasn't done much since then. But I do think that Goff eventually will get back to going to him, and I think I don't know. It's more of a gut call, I guess. Just living here in Washington and seeing how they play the tight ends, and it's just not a good defense against tight ends.
Okay.
All right, let's move into the value tier, and I'll go to you first, Gerson.
I have Jordan. I think it's Aiken or Atkin. I'm not sure which one it is, but I don't really care for name. But anyways, he is really cheap. He's coming in. Well, hold on. Let me eliminate your Higbee. Sorry. He's coming in at my 4th best value at 3,300. DBP. He did what's in Jacksonville Jaguar ranked 24th overall. I'm pretty sure in your Xbox thing or Deepak. He's coming in at almost like 8-9 points. 3,300, and I think Watson likes him. He targets him quite a bit. I mean, last week, let's see. 1 week he got 7 for 7. He got 11 points, 12 points. Very bad 3rd week, 7 points. I mean, he's still cheap. I think he's very athletic, but it's 3.3K. Yeah. I mean, you're not paying that much, and he's probably the best. He's my favorite value tight end in the 3K range. I couldn't really find myself to play another one like the Chris Herndon, Ian Thomas, Drew Sample. None of those guys I want to play.
Yeah.
Maybe hold on, I want to make sure he's not on you guys' list. Maybe Logan Thomas, but with what's his name, Kyle Allen there. But that's the only other guy I would play in the 3K range. But I think Jordan Atkin, and I'm telling you guys, this game's gonna be the make it right game for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I agree with Akins as long as he plays. I know he was questionable. Has he been officially ruled in yet? I'm not sure if he has.
Not, no.
So I had the other tight end, Darren Fells, but only if Akins does not play, because Jacksonville ranks as the 2nd best Deepak matchup against tight ends. So like you mentioned, if Akins is in, he's a great play. But if Akins is out, I like Darren Fells at 3.4. Tim, what do you got for your value?
Akins is out, smash Fells. Yep. Eric Ebron. This one's a couple different things that come together to make me like this play. One, he's 4K, which just kind of fits nicely into lineups. 2, I think the Philly and Pittsburgh game is going to be sneaky high scoring and very underowned. So I think it gets some exposure to that game. And number 3 is it's just a situation where he is 600 less than Ingram and 800 less than Schultz. Like I said, I don't think he'll be very high owned.
Yeah.
I think most of the ownership is going to be concentrated on one of those top guys or one of those middle guys. And here you are saving 600. He's gotten more end zone targets lately. And Philly is one of the worst teams in the league against the tight end. Obviously, Higbee's big game was against them, I believe. I mean, that's just a way that you can pick on them. So a guy that gets, red zone usage at a low price against a team that's bad against the position, it just kind of everything comes together for Ebron at 4K. So, again, like I said, I think Ingram and Schultz are probably both better plays at their price. But I think if you need the money elsewhere and you don't want to really pivot off of one of your other plays, I think you can come down to Ebron and still feel good about it.
I like it. I did have one more guy. Just to mention it real quickly. I had Mo Alley Cox. Cleveland gets up to fifth worst versus the tight end, 7th best Deepak matchup ranking. And Tim, you got Richard Rodgers in there. I'm curious to what your thoughts on him are.
He is this week's Adam Troutman, right? So last week, if you played Adam Troutman and you took a 0, you knew that there was a chance that you might take a 0 when you played Adam Troutman. So it's the same thing with Richard Rodgers this week. He has more or less assumed the Dallas Goedert role in Philadelphia. He's running a decent amount of routes, and he's the second option at tight end, but he's also min price at 2,500. So I don't think he's going to get you a 0, but he very realistically could get you a 2 or a 3, and you have to know that going in, but he's also min priced.
Yeah.
Right? So, like we said earlier, if Akins is out, I think you smash Fells at 3.4 and just move on. But if not, I think you have to decide between, am I going to play one of those 4K guys in cash, or do I feel more comfortable just punting this position and paying up everywhere else?
Yeah, good point. All right, as usual, guys, we ran long, so let's hit this commercial break really quick so we can get back and do the money positions, running back and receiver. So hold tight. What's up, everyone? Geoff Lambert here, and I want to tell you about Society Socks. Is your sock drawer kind of boring? I know mine is. Society Socks is a men's sock subscription company that sends 2 pairs of exclusively designed socks to your door every month. These socks are made of a warm, soft, and comfortable blend of combed cotton, guaranteed to make your feet feel and look great. At the office or the bar, your socks are sure to be a hit. You might be wondering, why are they called Society Socks? Well, that's the best part. Socks are one of the most needed and least donated items at homeless shelters. Society Socks aims to change that. With every pair of socks purchased, another pair of socks is donated to homeless shelters. So on top of receiving awesome socks every month and amping up your sock drawer, you are actively making a positive change in society. With 2 surprise pairs of socks arriving at your door every month, you'll begin to grow an impressive sock collection. Visit mysocietySocks.com/armchair and enter our promo code ARMCHAIR to get 50% off your first subscription. Put an end to boring socks and subscribe today. Again, that's mysocietySocks.com/armchair and use promo code ARMCHAIR. All right, welcome back. We just hit the tight ends. We're going to move into the running back position now.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, so we each have the same 2 guys at the top here. So Gerson, you take one. Tim, you take the other one. Then we'll move down to the mid tier. So Gerson, you go first.
No, I get all of them. The first, Prince of Hilaire, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. It's just he ranked 7th in opportunity at 22.5. I mean, that's pretty bell cow to me. He hasn't done great though. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it's like not exciting, right? Like, you look at his stats, you're like, he's getting the opportunity, but I want to see more points. But right now, he's coming at almost 23 points projected for me, and he's my best. When I say best value running back, he's the #1 value running back on my list. And one of the biggest reasons is, of course, that DVOA 30th overall versus running back, and then you put DBP, which is defensive versus defense position, like point. 32nd overall. Raiders defense is awful. I knew they were going to be awful. I didn't like their defense. I knew that was going to be a big reason why the Raiders were just going to suck this year. His ownership is 26%. The highest. He's going to be, well, Mike Dave, second highest owned running back, but they're favored by 12.5 points. They have the highest implied total. Something's going to give in this game, and I believe Clyde Edwards-Hilaire is going to have the big game that everybody's been waiting for. And I'm hoping he's probably going to be my highest owned running back that I'm going to have on my GPP. And I think he's he's basically a lock in cash games. I think he's going to be the highest owned cash game running back. 6,800. And I know we said elite, but yeah, I'll consider him elite this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The thing that concerns me with him, though, is his red zone usage. That very first week, he had a bunch of red zone carries that couldn't get it in. And then since then, they pull him out in the red zone. So I don't know if that's by design or just because their packages they pulled in there. But hopefully he started getting those carries back again so we can get some touchdowns for him.
It's the Raiders. I don't think they're going to need to get into the red zone.
Yeah, they can score from the 50. Good stuff. All right, Tim, you got the other guy.
I do want to talk about Ezekiel Elliott, but before we move on, I said in the pre-show that when it came to Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, I had about 5 running backs that I projected for about close to the same point per dollar, and then there was Clyde Edwards-Hilaire that was way up above everybody else. So I do want to talk about Ezekiel Elliott. As Gerson just mentioned, I think him and Clyde are going to be the two highest running backs in cash. They might be the two highest running backs in GPPs as well, just because they're both in such good spots. At home, well favored, right, 10-plus points. Zeke has not really had that big game yet this year. Obviously, he had a lot of opportunities early in the year that got vultured by Dak, and then the last couple of weeks they've just been throwing to keep up. So if any game script sets up for Zeke, man, it might be this week. You can run on the Giants more than you can run on Cleveland. Cleveland actually had a sneaky decent defense going into last week. So I think that we're going to see this might be the Zeke week, man. Again, like Gerson said, I have him projected for about 22, 23 points, which at 7,800 puts him as almost a 3 times value. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to limit my exposure to these two guys because I like them so much. It's going to be hard for me to be like, oh, I can't put him in that lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to end up with like 60, 70% of both of these guys.
Yes. All right.
Crazy, man.
Good stuff. Let's go down to the mid tier, Gerson. Who you got in your mid tier?
Well, in case you didn't have a heart attack or you're sad and season long, this guy named Nick Chubb, he got hurt last week. I don't know if you guys missed it, but yeah, he's hurt. Brown gets to play at home. Hunt, he gets to run against one of the best offensive line in the league, if not the best. I think it's probably the best now, where the Cowboys' offensive line just being decimated.
Ooh,
no one just decimated. Jaguar, Colts, and Bears. I mean, they've all faced this team, and when Dalvin Cook faced them, he went for 14 and 63 and 1 touchdown. I mean, while like it looks like a tough matchup, it's really not. I mean, I think the only reason why Hunt didn't get more workload last week it was because of that hamstring injury.
Yep.
I believe, and they were blowing them out. I mean, like they were blowing them out, and then the next thing you know, well, Dak was going to be Dak, and they started making that comeback, right? But I think that hamstring had to do a lot with it. One of the craziest facts that I found was 45% of Kareem Hunt carries have gained 5+ yards, which is the second highest rate in the NFL, only behind Austin Eckler. So at 49%, that's pretty impressive to me. And now it's the Kareem Hunt show, or what would you call it? The Krispy Kreme? Krispy Kreme Hunt show? Yeah. And only Alvin Kamara is averaging more fantasy points per snap than Hunt. So I'm definitely going to have a lot of Kareem Hunt. It is a tough matchup, but like I just mentioned, you got to look at and this is what I tell people, always, if you think it's a tough matchup, go see who they played before.
Yeah.
Go see who they played before, because it can be a blind witness. You can be like blind by just the stat.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that Deepak stuff. I mean, Geoff is you get all kind of tools and stuff. He never shares it with us. You know, he gets fancy advertisement, doesn't get a shirt, doesn't get me a sock, and now no stats. I don't get it, man. Like, we're just
Hey, that Deepak is free actually, so you can go. It's on ProFootballNetwork.com. It's free. It's a pretty awesome tool. I'm actually testing that for the first time this week, putting it into my research, and we'll see how it pans out for me. Yep. Tim, who you got for your mid tier?
Yeah, I'm going back to the well again this week. I used him last week. I'm using him this week. I'm going to keep using him as long as DraftKings keeps his price down, and that's Mike Davis. Last week, you know, I played him in cash just because of his usage. And then this week, Reggie Bonifon, who was basically functioning as the number 2 running back there, is out. We saw he vultured a touchdown last week. That kind of pissed me off. But now he's going to get basically CMC last year usage, right? He's going to play 90+% of the snaps. He's going to get a good amount of usage in the pass game. He's at home. He's playing the terrible Falcons defense. You know, it's just everything sets up for Mike Davis to just be, again, in a smash spot. He is chalky. Again, this is probably a cash play. I think somebody that could be your third running back in cash. But he is going to carry that ownership, so, you know, consider that in tournaments. But, you know, this could be, like I said, this could be another smash spot for him, man. At 6,400, I still think he's underpriced. I think he should be at least $7K because I have him projected, again, close to 20 points. So, yeah, I mean, he's, you know, when I'm plugging in lineups this week, it's like Zeke, Clyde, and Mike Davis are basically one of those three is in basically every lineup this week.
Yeah,
if not multiple.
I'm with you. So I'm gonna. This is the play right here. That's gonna put my my new research, my Deepak research, to the test right here. So, Mr. Todd Gurley at 5.7. The Carolina Panthers have the best Deepak matchup of any team, and it's not even close. I'm going to give you an idea of how far out in a way they are. So if we're looking at second, third, and fourth, second's got a 17.39 rating. Third is a 16.8. Fourth is a 16.3. So all like within a point as you go down the list. The Panthers are at a 26. So far and above everybody else as far as giving up consistent points to the running back position. So Todd Gurley at 5.7 is in my. He's basically in there just because of the Deepak. I didn't have him on my list before. Yeah. I want to test this stat out, see how well it works, and that's why I'm putting my lineups this week to see how it does. So Todd Gurley is my ultimate test right there. I'm
just wondering if he's going to get, Ito Smith at the goal line or Brian Hill at the goal line.
Yeah, that's true. Because the points are just to the position. So I mean, they can get those points and it doesn't go to Todd Gurley. I'll be pissed.
Gerson not even pretending he's not watching the finals.
Yeah, I know. He's definitely just into it right now. He has no idea.
I'm listening. Okay, Todd Gurley's gonna be great.
All right, talk about James Robinson.
All right, James Robinson, okay. Gerson.
James Robinson totaled for 74 to 88 running back touches. I mean, he's this year's fantasy darling basically for fantasy football. I mean, nobody knew who he was.
Yep.
Maybe if you were a dynasty player, but he's the only running back that's averaged more yards per route run than Robinson is Alvin Kamara. That's pretty impressive. Alvin Kamara is a beast. We know how many times he runs route, and he's the only running back that does it better than him. Basically, until his price goes up, I'm going to keep playing him. People are just disrespecting him. I mean, while he looks like, just an average running back out there when you watch him, but if you really watch the game, you kind of remind me of Maurice Jones-Drew. Not saying he's as good as Maurice Jones-Drew because Maurice Jones-Drew was a great running back when his time was there in Jacksonville Jaguars. But I think there's going to be, I tell people, there's going to be the high-tier guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mike Davis, Ezekiel Elliott, and then you're going to have to find those mid-tier guys. And that's what's been happening in the last, 5 weeks when one mid-tier goes off. Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, who else are we? What was the third guy? Mixon. Joe Mixon. I mean, James Robinson could be this guy. I mean, they ranked 29th in DVOA. They ranked 29th in defensive points allowed to running back.
Last week, if you played Cook over Zeke last week, you felt smart about it.
Yep.
So this week, James Robinson in the mid-tier looks excellent. I love that game so much this week.
I got a lot of blowback when I said my number one running back is Dalvin Cook.
You did?
Over Kamara. And people were like, Kamara this, Kamara that. I'm like, hey, man, I respect it, but I'm going with Dalvin Cook as my number one running back. I think James Robinson in this matchup it's a good one. He could be this week. What are we going to call this guy? The blow-up spot? We got to make this something, a blow-up spot.
All right, we got to get through these quickly here, so let's get to the values. Tim, we'll go to you for some of your values.
I don't want to skip over Josh Jacobs since all three of us had it. I think he's a great play. He's basically the same price as Mike Davis, but all of my projections are showing him coming in much lower ownership. Casey is not a good run D. He's played well against him before, so I think it's a great spot. I don't know if he's a cash play, but I definitely want some of them in tournaments. So moving on, I actually want to ask you a question, Geoff. Because it's looking like Raheem Mostert may play, right? I think if Mostert doesn't play, then you lock and load McKinnon and just run for it. But assuming Mostert does play, how do you feel about Jerick McKinnon? Because I see a lot of talk about him this week.
I think you're more worried about Deebo Samuel than you are Mostert for this, because I think if Deebo Samuel's fully healthy and he's going to play a full workload, not the whatever he played last week, like 30% of the snaps, then I think McKinnon is still viable because he'll be catching passes out of the backfield. But if Deebo's there and you got Brandon Ayuk healthy, then I think that they get those ancillary targets, and of course you got Kittle there. McKinnon moves down to the fourth in the pecking order, and I don't like him quite as much. So Mostert's key in the sense that McKinnon gets some carries as well, but I do think that Deebo Samuels is more important for McKinnon's value.
All right. Gerson has an FML next to this guy, so I'm going to talk about him, and that's going to be David Johnson. One theme of this show is play. Last week it was play. Gerson said it on the outro, right? Play Texans and Vikings, right? Well, this week it's going to be play Texans and Jaguars, okay? Yes. And so David Johnson fits that bill. He's 5,200. Some people say, he was tied to Bill O'Brien. They're not going to give him a run. I still think they know that he's their best option right now. Jacksonville not great against the run. Obviously, you saw how they did last week on that. The biggest thing for me is Miles Jack. Going back to the famed lost draft show, I liked Miles Jack coming out. I said he should have been a first rounder. He was not. I followed his career a little bit since. He's just a real good linebacker. He grades up as a top 5 linebacker in the NFL right now. So I think if he's out in this game, that actually sets up great for David Johnson. At 5,200, he is already a great value. But if Jack is out, then he becomes almost cash game considerable for me. I know people say, "Oh, Duke Johnson, he's back. He's going to, skip into his into his usage." I don't really think so. I think that they're pretty independent. So I think you can play David Johnson at 5,200 and feel pretty good about it.
All right. So I've been pretty on point with my proclamations lately. I had the breakout game for Derrick Henry. I had the breakout game for Austin Hooper. This is going to be the breakout game for Mr. Cam Akers at 4,000 against Washington. I think Cam Akers, if you look at he had 14 carries in that first game, so he got a good amount of usage there. And then, of course, Malcolm Brown did his thing. And then we had Henderson do his thing. Both of them struggled last week. The game that Akers got hurt, he had the first 3 carries of that game. He had 13 yards on 3 carries and then got hurt and never came back again. I do think the Rams want Akers to be the guy at 4,000 against Washington. They give the 4th most points to running backs. So I do think that Cam Akers this week is a play at 4K, and I'm predicting that this will be his week to shine against the Redskins or against the Washington football team. There, I messed it up again. Hit that money jar. Ding ding. I can't help it. I live in the area, and I've heard that so many times, and it's just like ingrained in my head.
So did they fuck up that many times on the radio about it?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all the time. Radios they just say it all the time. They can't help themselves. Yep. Matter of fact, the morning show, the Junkies, they have a segment called "Hitting the Skins," and they haven't changed the segment name. They just kept it the same. So, all right, guys, you ready for receivers?
Yes, sir.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, a lot of top tier guys in all 3 of our lists here. Gerson, we'll go to you first. Talk about your highlighted guy there.
It's Tyreek Hill. In case you don't know, you can't figure that out. It's Tyreek Hill. But Tyreek Hill had a touchdown in every game this year. Has seen 7.3 yards per target. Per game. Raiders defense. Like I've said, they're freaking just terrible. They ranked 30th overall in defensive DVOA, 30th in pass DVOA, and has allowed the 9th most points at 120 points. If you can name me the cornerback for the Oakland Raiders right now, I will send you my early core.
Can't do it. I probably couldn't do it before, but I definitely can't do it now.
Yeah. Trayvon Mullen is the cornerback that's going to be covering Tyreek Hill. He's a second-year cornerback. He's done an very bad matchup for him. Tyreek Hill is going to burn him. I think a lot of people are going to be on DeAndre Hopkins. I think the top wide receiver on this slate is actually Tyreek Hill. I love Tyreek in this matchup. It's just Patrick Mahomes and him. I can see an 80-yard bomb right from the beginning of the day. We're gonna watch the red zone. Next thing you know, 80-yard bomb to freaking Tyreek Hill. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. But I love Tyreek Hill this week. I'm gonna have a lot of closers to him.
He's just too damn cheap. That's the biggest thing. When I first looked at his slate, I thought, okay, DeAndre Hopkins 7,900 against the Jets, smash spot. Save $1,000. Tyreek Hill against the Raiders. Smash spot, right? That was my first impression when I looked at the slate was, sometimes we talk about, especially early in the year, how DraftKings has that Monday night layover where if a team played on Monday night, their price didn't get raised.
Yep.
I feel like that's almost what happened with Tyreek Hill. They were like, oh, well, he hasn't played yet, so he can't be worth 7,000. You're looking at receivers on the slate. Amari Cooper, 7,400, a good play. Calvin Ridley, 7,500, a good play. Tyreek Hill, 6,900, probably the best play on the slate.
Yep.
So, I'm going to have good exposure to DeAndre Hopkins, but I don't know how you get away from Tyreek Hill this week. His price is just so cheap. It's almost a problem. You almost have to play it just because it's so cheap. So, but yeah, my top guy was DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's right there with Tyreek Hill. He is $1,000 more, but the Jets are just so bad. Again, Gerson said they have all but undrafted guys, running out there at cornerback. So, it's just so bad. He had a down week last week. I don't think he's going to have a down week. He's playing Bless Swan. Austin is the guy that he's going to be matched up against, right? And then when he gets matched up against Pierre Desir. Obviously, we saw last week they were just picking on him every play that they could. So I think who? Desir or Hopkins?
I don't care about
I think Hopkins is the I think they wouldn't have played him if he wasn't. And I don't think, everything that I've heard is that he didn't get, any more injured, right? They basically he was a full participant in Thursday. I expect he got a full practice in today. So, and the guy that he's supposed to play against, which is actually funny that you mentioned that, he actually was questionable with a calf. So the Jets are even more banged up. If I ever looked at a slate and thought that guy might get 40 points, Hopkins here could seriously get 40 points.
Yep.
What's crazy about that, I looked at the ownership, and his ownership is at 9%.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy,
This reminds me what I was thinking about, and I know we got to go, Geoff, but you know what this reminded me of? It was prime Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah.
When Antonio Brown was in his prime, and he went against a team against the Jets, if you would have seen him at 7,900, you would have just auto-filled every lineup with him, man. That's how I feel about this matchup.
Yep.
There is no number he could score here that would surprise me.
What did your Deepak say against the New York Jets secondary?
Let me pull that up. While I'm doing that, let me talk about the other guy that I have. I have Juju Smith-Schuster. He's the kind of guy that's unique to everybody here, and he has the second best Deepak matchup. And of course, they give up the 7 most points to wide receivers that the Eagles do. At 6.7, I think he's a good pivot off some of those top guys we just talked about. Trying to pull up now the receiver position for Houston. Let's see what they got here. Tim, go ahead, or Gerson, go ahead and talk about one of your guys while I look this up real quick.
I think the guy that I'm going to have the heaviest ownership is DJ Moore. A lot of people are probably going to be bummed out by what he did the last week. I mean, I get it. He did shitty. He's very inconsistent this year. But he's facing Isaiah Oliver, the fifth best. He has the fifth best cornerback for his wide receiver matchup this week. The stack makes sense with Teddy Bridgewater. 6K, ownership coming out 20%. I mean, Robbie Anderson leads the Panthers in target, reception, and yard, but DJ Moore is a great wide receiver. You got to believe it. Last year, he was held under 10 fantasy points twice in the 14 games that he played last year. But this year so far, it's been 3 of the 4 games. Yeah, it sucks, but you got to buy in on this guy. And I think he's in a great game environment, and I'm going to have a lot of DJ Moore at 6K.
All right, good stuff. And surprisingly,
I'm going to take a teammate, man. I'm going to go with Sweet Robbie Anderson. I'm calling him Sweet Robbie Anderson this week. If you watch the Sweet Caroline video, that was one of my favorite videos of the week. The Panthers singing Sweet Caroline and Robbie Anderson having no idea what was going on. If you haven't seen it, go check out that video. But my favorite mid-tier receiver this week is actually going to be DJ Chark. We've talked about how you want every part of that Texans-Jaguars game. James Robinson is obviously a great play, but I'm going to go with DJ Chark. He's going to be shadowed by Bradley Roby. I'm not scared, not even a little bit. This guy just shines. He's Minshew's favorite target. I talked about earlier how I like Minshew. I think he's a great stack option. And then on the other side of that game, Will Fuller. Last week, we were all high on Will Fuller. Obviously, that worked out. This week, I think you can go right back to Will Fuller, right? Watson, we all like Watson. He's got to throw to somebody. So I think Chark and Fuller are going to be 2 guys that I have in a lot of lineups as secondary stacks as kind of fillers because their GPP ceiling is so high.
I love it. I'm a quick fire some of the guys we didn't get a chance to talk about. Amari Cooper, of course, we mentioned a little bit. Calvin Ridley's on Gerson's list. CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin are in play. DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Jamison Crowder, and I had CeeDee Lamb on there, of course, with the Dak Prescott stack. And Tyler Boyd, surprisingly, the Baltimore Ravens aren't good against the slot receiver, so Tyler Boyd's in play too at 6.2. All right, let's move into the value tier, and Gerson, let's go to you first.
I think the guy that I'm going to have the most exposure to and the value is Darius Slayton. Cowboys defense ranked 25th in DVOA against the pass and allowed the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers this season. It just makes a great stack option with Daniel Jones. Like I said, I'm going to be stacking that game. And, I want to also give a shout-out to Tim because he mentioned Robbie Anderson. That was another player I'm going to stack with Teddy Bridgewater. But, again, guys, I'm telling you guys, stack is the name of the game.
Yep.
That's what's winning GPP.
Yep.
If you go to the DFS Roundtable on Facebook, Tim posted a freaking great article, a great post about all the stats and everything. Like I said, this is gold because everything he posted, I've been preaching for years.
Yep.
I've said GPP is won by stats. They don't get won by game target or great plays. They get won by stats.
Yep.
And Daniel Jones.
Stacks on Stacks was the name of that thread because through 4 weeks, both FD and DK, the winner every week, has had a primary stack and at least one secondary stack.
Yep.
So if you're not stacking not just a quarterback, a wide receiver in your lineup, I'm talking quarterback, 2 wide receivers, a bring back candidate, a secondary stack, and maybe even a tertiary stack. Like, you got to have correlation throughout your whole lineups if you want a real shot to take down a tournament.
All right.
While we're
I bet when you all tuned into the show tonight, you didn't expect to hear the word tertiary on the show, but we got that word in. That's the word of the day, Tim.
I got my word in tonight. There you go.
Good stuff.
So while we're talking about values, real quick here, Sammy Watkins, I think, is going to go overlooked this week. He's only 4,500. I think he makes a great GPP play. Everybody's going to be playing Clyde. Everybody's going to be playing Hill. I think Kelsey's going to have pretty good ownership too, but I don't think almost anybody's going to be playing Watkins. So I think for 4,500, he makes a great GPP play. Another GPP play is Brandon Cooks. I know you probably vomited in your mouth when I just said that because he burned a lot of people last week. But in DFS, there is no bigger leverage shot than recency bias, right? If a player's price goes down and their ownership goes down and their situation does not go down, then they make a great GPP play.
Gerson is very excited about Brandon Cook's play, I guess.
Everything's going to be off Cooks because he burned them last week. So if you got burned, I'm sorry, but pretend last week didn't happen. 4,100, he's a great play again this week. Get him into your Watson stacks, and I'm almost going to guarantee he won't give you a 0 again.
Yeah, I love it. So a few of the guys I want to mention before we get to the defenses, I did have Laviska Shenault, assuming he plays. He's fully healthy. Houston is 19th DVOA versus the pass, against the run, and then 29th versus the pass. I think Shenault does a little bit of both, so he can take advantage of both of those weaknesses with the Houston defense. So Chenault's in play for me. Hardman's been pretty good of late at 4.4. He's a good GPP play. And I do like your nickname there, Tim. I hadn't heard that one yet for Darius Slayton, Mr. Slaytron. I like that.
Yeah.
And of course, we mentioned Robbie Anderson. Great play there as well. Let's. Who else do you have on your list, Tim? You got.
Just a couple guys real quick. Gabriel Davis. If John Brown, I guess he's not on the slate anymore, so I forgot to delete that one. What I call it, OZ, Olamide Zaccheaus. I think he's probably the bird play this week. Right now, it does not like Julio Jones is going to play. If that is the case at $3K, I think he's the best value on the slate. He'll be heavy owned, but for good reason. And then the other one I have here is Greg Ward, and I put that he gets the Mike Hilton bonus. Over the last couple of years, you always play slot receivers against Pittsburgh. It's the easiest way to target them. I think Philly's going to get behind in this game and have to throw. Djax is out. Jeffrey is out. Goddard is out. So I think Ward is basically their more or less number 2 receiver at $4,600.
Love it.
Don't forget about Golden Tate.
Oh, and yeah, Gerson's got Golden Tate there as well. So let's get to the defenses now, guys.
Defense.
All right, Tim, we'll go to you because Gerson's engrossed in the Lakers game right now. Give me some of your defenses.
Yeah, there's 2 main ones, man. Last week I said pay up for defense. This week I'm going back to pay up for defense. I think there are 2 defense spots this week that are far and away well above the others. And it's Baltimore at home against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh at home against Philadelphia. Both of these teams will blitz all day long. Both of these teams have a little bit of, are terrible. Let's just put it that way. Burrow's at least a rookie, so I can give him a little bit of credit. But Carson Wentz is grading out as like the worst quarterback against the blitz this year. So both of these teams, I think, are basically a lock for a couple sacks, a lock for 1 or 2 turnovers, and then if you take one back for 6, then you're probably, and this year offensive scoring has obviously been the theme, but traditionally you needed that extra 5, 6, 7 points in a defense to be able to separate you in that top 10 scoring. So if you can find your way up to Baltimore or Pittsburgh this week, that's my best recommendation. If you're going to look for a mid-tier, I like the Cowboys. And then as a punt, I like the Redskins. I did it. The football team.
I got you this time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go while Gerson is sitting there engrossed in the game real quick. I have one punt defense, and it's going to be kind of gross to think about when I first mention it, but let me explain myself before you throw up. And that is the New York Giants going against the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, we talked about how great the Dallas Cowboy offense is and yada, yada, yada. The one thing about Dallas Cowboys, what they do is turn the ball over. I think Dak Prescott's got 3 interceptions and 3 fumbles. Zeke has 3 fumbles. And the New York defense, this is when fantasy doesn't really mirror real life. Their defense, for fantasy purposes, hasn't been terrible. Other than the one game against the 49ers where they put up negative 2 points. They put up positive points. They have a 5-point game and a 9-point game, something like that. So I think against Dallas, they get a few turnovers. Maybe they get a pick 6 by chance or something. And I think that price point, I think the Giants are in play.
Hey, just to add to that real quick, news today was that Tyron Smith, left tackle for the Cowboys, was now ruled out for the year. He's having neck surgery. So they'll basically be starting 2 undrafted free agent rookies on that offensive line.
Yeah, good call. And the Giants, I think, have 3 sacks in a couple of the games that they played this year. So another way to get some points there. Because I think with defenses, we said it before, I know that Dallas is probably going to score a lot of points, but what you really want for defenses is turnovers, sacks, and touchdowns. And I think Dallas will give opportunities for that to happen. So I do think Giants can be a good play. Gerson, I know you...
There's one defense I want to mention.
Go ahead.
Hold on. 10, 9...
Counting it.
Shit! You motherfucker! Oh my god! You fucking kidding me, Mark Morris? You piece of shit! Okay, Kansas City defense against the Oakland Raiders. There's a reason why Raiders suck, and they're gonna. Oh my god! You just. Oh, JR missed it. You. Oh man. Yeah, well, Lakers lost. Anyways, Kansas City Chiefs defense. Like I said earlier on in the podcast, I think they're actually a really good defense. A lot of people give a lot of credit to Kansas City's offense, but Kansas City Chiefs defense in this game environment, I'm gonna target them because we've seen Derek Carr. I mean, he gets pressured, he just fumbles the ball, throws interceptions. But I like KC's defense, but I love all those defense you guys talk about. Mainly the Steelers defense, because they're gonna force a lot of pressure on Wentz. And he has no weapons to catch besides Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders. But
hey, I didn't mention this earlier when I was talking about it, but I actually read a stat today that the Pittsburgh Steelers are currently blitzing at a higher rate than anyone has in over 15 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
So combine that with the fact that Philly's got a banged-up O-line and Carson Wentz is terrible under pressure, the Steelers very well could be, if the defense, like you said, worth paying up for this week. So you can find the money, get there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it me, or there's not a defense that really stands out more than anybody? Like every week we say, well, what this week was the Cardinals defense we say against the Jets, but it's just not like it doesn't appeal to me as a GPP defense. You know what I mean?
Nope. Yeah, agreed. And again, just go on your KC defense. I think a lot of times their offense puts the other team's offense in a one-dimensional mode where they're playing catch-up, and that kind of helps their defense as well because then they can just tee off those, off the line there, go after the quarterback, get those interceptions and stuff like that. So I do think KC's defense is definitely in play for sure.
And they're probably the only team that has a realistic shot at a kickoff or punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, to where it's actually, like, you could project it to happen.
Yeah, good call. Let's do our stacks.
Goingfor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, Gerson, we're going to go to you since you look a little upset there. The Lakers did lose the game, so I apologize for that. But give us your stack of the week. Maybe it'll make you a little bit happier.
Hey, it's fine. I said Lakers in 6, so my projection might go right. My prediction, I mean. My stack of the week is I've been playing this stack every week. Like it's either one player is this or one player is that. And a lot of people are going to be on Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper actually draws up the harder matchup out of this stack. So I'm going to go the other way. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Slaytron.
I
mean, yeah, that's my favorite stack this week. Just get some exposure to Dak Prescott. Every week he's winning GPPs, guys.
Yeah. All right, Tim, what you got for your stack of the week?
Shocker, it's going to be Deshaun Watson. We're going to go throw up Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, and then bringing it back with DJ Chark or James Robinson.
Nice. I like it.
We're going back to play all the Texans.
Good stuff. So my stack is going to be, what do you call him? Teddy Two Gloves? Is that what you call him, Tim?
That is, yes, Teddy Two Gloves.
Teddy Bridgewater, of course, Robbie Anderson, and Calvin Ridley. I know he burned us all last week. Actually, he didn't burn me in season long. I was glad he got 0 because I was playing against him. So thankfully he got a big fat 0. But I think he has a big bounce back week. And that stack, just to give you an idea, it's a $19,300 stack, so it's not super expensive. It still allows you to pay up for some other positions there, so I do think it's a pretty good stack this week. All right, and it's time for I've already seen a few sick calls in the chat room. Let's go ahead and get to that.
And now, the sick call of the week.
All right, then Gerson, we'll go to you first. Give us your sick call of the week.
You know, I was worried that you guys were actually going to say this is not a sick call. No. Because we always do that to each other. We call each other out, guys. Like we do. I mean, I had, how do you say his name? Olamide
Zacchaeus.
Yes.
Olamide Zacchaeus.
And then you guys called me out, but I have Mecole Hardman at 4,400. I think he can have a 20-point game with just as a sick call. I mean, he's coming in at 1% ownership.
Wow.
So, I mean, just to give you an idea, the Raiders are just, I think last year was DeMarcus Robinson that had like 2 touchdowns with them.
Yep, it was.
And he was in that Mecole Hardman role. And I think Mecole Hardman is going to be basically in a DeMarcus Robinson role now because he earned it. And I definitely like him at 4,400.
I love it. Tim, who you got for your sick call?
This one hurts me a little bit, but it's a sick call, so it's supposed to. And that's going to be Jeff Smith. Last week we saw that he basically was the go-to kind of wide receiver option, it seemed like, for the Jets. I know Jamison Crowder is here. It's obviously wacko for Flacco at quarterback, but at $3K, Jeff Smith kind of rates out as only under Zacchaeus as far as the best options at $3K for me. So he gets Arizona. We know they play pace up. He had 9 targets last week. Again, he's only the min price at $3,000. I don't expect hardly anyone to be on this guy, so I think you can. I don't know that I would stack him, but I think he's somebody that could fit in as the last guy in your lineups that nobody's going to be on, and lets you stack up every other spot.
I love it. There's one thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention when we talked about tight ends, is with Flacco starting. I'm kind of back on the Herndon track there for a minute because Flacco loves his tight ends. I know we've had Herndon as a sleeper for basically 3 years now, it seems, but Herndon almost made my sick calls. He didn't quite make it because he's burned me too many times. So my sick call that I'm going with is Isaiah Wright. And I know everybody's like, who the hell is Isaiah Wright? He's a rookie for the Washington football team. Steven Sims Jr. is out for this game.
You got it right.
Yes, I made sure. I actually have it pulled up on my screen to make sure I read it. But the last 2 weeks, he's had 6 and 5 targets, so 11 targets total, 4 receptions. Hasn't done much with them, unfortunately. He's had 20 yards and 24 yards. But the targets are there. You got Kyle Allen coming in now. Maybe he's a little bit better than Haskins, gives him better opportunities. But Isaiah Wright is actually a decently athletic player. At $3,000, he's min salary. I think he can be a decent sit call this week. So hopefully I can get 2 in a row. I got my Jalen Guyton call last week. Isaiah Wright bailed me out this week.
He does get the easiest matchup against Troy Hill. So
good point.
That's definitely advantageous for him.
Good point. All right.
I don't know who the fuck Isaiah Wright is.
Gerson is like depressed now, so we'll go to Gerson first. So Gerson, tell us where we can follow you at, and tell us about the Facebook group as well.
Bro, I'm not depressed. I'm more depressed that I could have been $100,000 richer last Sunday over this Laker game. I mean, LeBron don't beat me. Yeah, you can find me on the DFS Roundtable on Facebook. You can find me on Tuesday for Waiver Wire War Room, and then on Sunday morning, I'm actually going to be on. I'm going to make a change because last week I noticed that making my rosters in 30 minutes wasn't the best idea. So I need a whole hour. So I'm going to be there at the beginning of the show at 9:30 Mountain Time. Is it 9:30? No, 10. Yeah, 9:30 Mountain Time.
Yep.
So it would be whatever time Geoff can figure it out.
11:30 Eastern, guys.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Geoff. I mean, you just put the right
Also, for Gerson's sake, on Sunday at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, we will also be hosting a roundtable watch party for the Lakers and Heat Game 6.
Nice.
So that,
I like it.
Gerson gets to watch the Heat win in his 6-game prediction. No, really, though, do get into the DFS roundtable. We're always talking in there. Like Gerson said, I spent a lot of time this week gathering information from all over the web to put into a thread for you guys. So definitely hop in there, put all your info in there, put your lineups in there, put your thoughts in there, all of your bad opinions. We'll take it. Just hop in the group and join the fun.
All right. Definitely, guys, join the group, DFS
Definitely
Roundtable.
Vote for your winner in the Roundtable Arena this week. It's the only way you can get in the arena.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great contest too, Tim. I think next year maybe we'll all get on this. We'll all have our own little arena and matchups and kind of something to talk about on the show. As if we needed more to talk about, though, right?
That's right.
As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Geoff Lambert77. I apologize for all the tech issues tonight, but I got some new tools and some new gadgets that kind of distracted me a little bit. But we'll be back on point next week. For Gerson, for Tim, I'm Geoff. We'll see you next week.